All right.
Here we go.
Have you had the new brisket at Chipotle?
Dude, I had the brisket tonight.
And
Chipotle. Loved it. I'm sad that it's gonna be limited time, but yeah, I would give it a, a 9 out of 10.
ooh,
Loved it.
Okay.
I miss
Okay.
the chorizo. So if it can
Oh,
hold up to that,
I loved the chorizo, and the chorizo hasn't been back in forever. They brought back the plant-based chorizo for a while, but yeah, brisket's good. It's up there with it.
that is
To get
all.
out there.
Honestly, that's all I could think about watching this episode of Survivor was I don't know that I could handle it just from the lack of food. I mean, I can skip a meal here or there, but I was getting hungry just watching them not eat.
Yeah, I've always thought that would be my Achilles heel playing the game is I would get really tired of rice.
Yeah.
That or I feel like for me it'd be lack of water. But food and water like just oof.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's have a formal start to this thing, I guess. Um, so episode 2 of season 47, Survivor of the Merge Feast. That sounded really weird, but yeah, episode 2 of this season of the Merge Feast. So glad to have everybody back. And man, this episode 1 is always, just full of tons of information, trying to figure out, who the players are, how their style of play is. And I don't know about you guys, but there was not a single person the first half of the episode that I did not seem to really like. I feel like in past seasons, there's always that one person that kind of gives you the ick, and you're like,
Mm.
I just don't like them. I didn't have that with anybody, so I don't know.
I,
What did you guys think of the cast?
I first I'll say I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but for the first like the usually the first player that gets voted out, you're kind of like, meh, like who cares? Like I was kind of hoping that John was going to be able to stick around for a while cuz he had really intriguing things to say.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm concerned. I'm concerned about Andy as far as players giving me the ick. Um, I'm hoping we're not getting another Banu. There always seems to be that one player in each season that you're like, come on, man. But overall, I think the cast, at least first impressions, there's nobody that's like they're gonna win this thing, and there's nobody outside of maybe Andy that I'm like, yeah, you kind of stink. I like that it seems balanced right now,
Mm,
and I hope that that continues and we don't just have like a dumpster fire tribe like we have.
yeah.
Yeah, that was the big thing that I was kind of looking for, not just looking for, but kind of hoping for this season was not having just one tribe that was just down in the dumps the entire time. Obviously, could happen, but I feel like the tribes are all pretty evenly matched, and for the most part, like Blake said, I didn't have the ick or like anybody that was like, oh gosh, I'm not a huge fan of you up until Andy and like some of that, but yeah, overall, I'm really excited to see how the rest of it plays out.
Let's just hop into, I mean, since we're already talking about strong players and weaker players, who do you guys feel like are the strongest players? Maybe top 3 people that stand out, and then top or bottom 3 right now.
So for me, um, I think top three players. I think one would have to be TK right now.
Hmm.
Um, seemed like he's got a group of people that like him. He's already gone and won points for his tribe. He's already potentially got some dirt on a player that he can use later. So I like where he's at. Teeny, I liked Teeny in the Lavo tribe. I think she's gonna have a strong social game.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and I don't really have like a third player, but worst players, I'm concerned. I'm concerned about Andy. I'm hoping that he can get past kind of his insecurities or whatever was going on there. Rome seems to be playing a little bit reckless, which is kind of fun to watch, but it's like, dude, they're going to get you. And then I think Gabe is in a little bit of trouble. I don't necessarily think that he's a bad player, but I think he definitely messed up with
I feel like he was
how
a
he handled
little.
his beware advantage.
Yeah, I feel like he was just too careless with it.
But I don't know where either of you stand on, best and worst right now based off of tonight's episode.
I feel like you're pretty spot on there. TK, like you said, winning the camp supplies, like obviously a big bonus there. And then Teeny, I thought, was one of the strongest like social games in a first episode that I feel like I've seen for a while.
So with Teeny, her strategy was kind of, I'm going to be everybody's number one, right? I think as long as people don't catch wind of that, I think that's going to be a really good strategy for her. Because people seem to seem to really take a liking to her. So I think that can fare well for her, unless like everybody else gets to talk and they're like, Teeny's my number one, and then, like, Teeny's my number one. So could get messy, but I think she's playing the game well. One episode in.
Yeah. The other person that I was going to say would be up there kind of on the top. I know she didn't win, but the lady that went with TK on the challenge, was that Aisha?
Yeah.
I feel like she, for being on the outs at the very beginning of not having the social side at the getting to the camp first to coming in after that, I feel like she did really, really well of joining back in and not missing some of that, because I feel like in the past we've seen that person that goes out there and does that, if they come back empty-handed, is like, oh, we've got our kind of our alliances going, or we've talked to certain people and they just are on the outs. But I feel like she was able to get back into the tribe really, really, really quick and really well.
Yeah. And she had a couple of things going for her as well. Number one, Teeny recognizing her from the podcast that Aisha's in with Rob Has a Podcast, and kind of the antics that Rome was playing, doing his beware advantage.
What are your thoughts, Blake?
I mean, I agree with all of those, and this is one episode that I thought one of the players that played the best and the most, like, the best strategic game, even though it didn't work out, was John. I mean, I thought John was playing a really, really good game. And so I had a whole thing that I wrote down, and I kept making notes on the same thing. And this is how John developed just this episode. So I wrote down, John definitely worked in politics. Was at some moment he had said something, maybe it was a question that he was asked, and he answered it like just in the perfect way where he didn't upset anybody. And then I put he may be the one to beat. Just thinking like, man, if he is able to just tell people what they want to hear, but not really lie, but not really answer the question, and just I think his social game was going to be really, really good. And then I like that he was controlling his own game rather than just letting it happen around him, but maybe to his detriment. And then lo and behold, it ended up coming back to bite him. But I think all the way around, I thought he played really, really good.
Yeah.
I think the biggest downside that he did at the very end was when everybody was saying, "Hey, we're gonna tell him we're voting you." As soon as you agree to that, I almost feel like that puts your name out there of like, okay, just hearing your name in the pot there is never a good thing. So
Yeah.
I think he should have
Yeah.
tried to fight that a little bit more, skirt around that somehow.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because that turn into an easy vote like really quickly. Like people already think we're writing John's name down, so let's just write him down. But I think John has Survivor second chances written all over him if they decide to do that in the future. Just because I
Hmm.
think, like, very well spoken. Obviously, he's a speechwriter, so it makes a lot of sense. And then, just like I said earlier in the episode, like a first boot, you usually forget about them. But I like he lost, and I was like, man, that stinks that he lost because I would have loved to have seen him make a final tribal speech.
Oh yeah.
Like that would have been good TV.
Yeah, I mean, imagine him getting to the merge. I feel like his social game and just being able to just eloquently speak would get him so far. But I don't know. This one looking so we obviously did the draft last episode and we didn't have anything to go off of base except for their photo and a little bit of their bio. And I've got to say, I judged a lot of these people and they turned out completely different than what I thought. John being one of them, Teeny being one of them, um, Rome being one of them. There were a couple people that I did not expect them to start playing this way, just based on how they looked and the little bit in their bio. So even though I feel like a lot of these people aren't as eccentric as last season, there's definitely some layers there, and I think it's a really really good cast.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great cast. The same or in a different way that season 46's cast was great. I think we're gonna grow to love a lot of these players. So I'm excited to see kind of where everyone's journey goes and what kind of messes they all get into. A couple of them are already in a mess that they're gonna have to figure out here soon.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a couple of them that are digging themselves some holes pretty quick if they're not careful.
Yep. Um, let's talk about the challenges, and we'll just kind of encompass all of the challenges into this part of the conversation. But um, the the beginning of the game started off a little different. We obviously had that initial challenge, and we can talk about that. But um, the sweat versus savvy versus sweat, or
I don't even think did they call it that this year this
I
no,
time.
don't.
but that's what I was saying. Like that has gone away,
Yeah,
and there was kind of a new challenge there. So I'm excited to hear your guys'
yeah,
thoughts on that too.
yeah. I think the opening challenge, as far as I can really remember in recent years, and you guys can help me, like that's one of the most physical and like daunting opening challenges I think I've seen, and it felt kind of old school the way that they um like because in recent years it's been kind of confined to this one space the challenges have, and
Mhm.
this one had you going all up in the woods and doing all kinds of different things, and I was like, that's old school. So
Yeah,
I was
I
a
would agree
fan.
with that. Yeah, it continuing to go through the old seasons and watching them, that was something that I noticed kind of right off the bat. A lot of those first challenges or some of the challenges, you're out on the beach and running back through the woods, having to get pieces or whatever the case may be there, but is absolutely going back into the jungle and a little bit more spread out rather than being confined.
when I kept thinking that, I really thought about that in the immunity challenge, and not to jump ahead, but I kept thinking, like, man, these challenges are absolutely evolving. We're not just seeing the same thing year after year or season after season. Not only are they changing and getting different, but I feel like they're becoming more difficult. Like mentally, with the puzzles, some of like that first puzzle in the opening challenge did not seem easy. And then also the physical aspect of it. I think
Oh
that's
yeah.
part of, for me at least, what's kept Survivor entertaining. It's not just the social aspect. It's the challenge. You never know what you're going to get. It's not watching the same thing every single season.
I loved that. Welcome to Survivor. You're going to get covered in mud now, was really the first thing that happened.
I always wonder too, why don't they just jump in the water or rinse off their face before they hop back in the boat? I don't understand.
Yeah, they go to camp all disgusting. I wonder if they're required to.
Maybe, yeah.
I even thought that for the kind of that second challenge for TK and Aisha, like they did the entire challenge covered in mud until they
Yeah.
got in the ocean to find the final key. Like, I was like, I feel like I would want to get that off, but probably they're told to do that.
Yeah. And I thought that the challenge that TK and Aisha that they went on was interesting because like it typically would have been Sweat versus Savvy, and it seems like they are going away from that. I think probably just due to the lack of success from Sweat versus Savvy challenges. That would make sense if it's not working to move away. But it kind of felt like they combined Sweat versus Savvy challenge with like a journey.
Mhm.
And I thought it was a good change of pace. And
I like that only one of them could win.
oh yeah.
Definitely puts more stakes for it, or like more to the challenge and pushes you more, but makes it attainable for at least somebody. That was the thing with before. It almost seemed like nobody ever got it. So
Yeah.
I was very, very happy with the change.
And had a little bit it was close too. It wasn't like a big blowout. And I mean at least the edit made it seem like TK leaving the path is really what the difference was. As far as getting that final key and being the winner and getting the camp supplies.
Do you see her try to snake it from him there at the end in the water?
Hey,
I'm like, oh man, what a
Yeah.
weasel.
you gotta do what you gotta do. She should
It's
have
true.
really just went for it.
Yeah. Oh, he would have been so mad.
Yeah. He's like, whoa, what are you doing?
Don't you try that. Don't you do that.
He was gonna elbow her in the face, I
Yeah.
feel like.
I don't know what the rules of Survivor are, but I don't think you can drown your opponents. So
That might be
Waterboard, yes. Drowning.
Yeah. Yes, waterboarding is definitely on the table. One of my favorite challenges is basically waterboarding.
Oh, let's see here. Oh, did you guys? So, what's the yellow team's name? Is it Gata?
I'm gonna remember that because you gotta be kidding me with that performance in the immunity challenge.
Well, so before that though, this has got to be
Gotta be.
like I think the initial challenge that they won had to have been a fluke.
You think?
I don't think so.
I think we'll have to see. I'd love to hear your reasoning why you think that.
So I say it's got to be, but I think there's a strong potential for it. After the initial challenge, I thought, oh man, they are the tribe to beat. And then pretty quickly you realize like, okay, they're not as unbeatable as they seem by any means. They're actually fairly dysfunctional. And while what's the guy's name? Is it Andy that just was spiraling? While he's got some strength there, I feel like he's going to end up being a detriment. And he does seem like the weakest link of any tribe.
Yeah.
So and now they're down a player. So I'll be curious to see. I don't know.
And I'm glad you said the strength thing because I think it was Rachel that even said really all he offers is brute force and not even much there. So I'm just hoping that he kind of like the fact that he didn't get voted out tonight maybe gives him a change of perspective because he was clearly in his head with some of the stuff he was saying, but I don't know if it's going to be I don't know if that first challenge was a fluke because like Tuku was pretty bad in the immunity challenge too.
Yeah, that's true.
They just weren't as bad. Actually, that immunity challenge outside of Lavo was just a disaster.
I was shocked that two teams had their boats flip over, and I don't know. I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
Yeah. It
Like-
almost seemed like the other two teams were just trying to rush and not really have any finesse with anything. And I kept thinking of that phrase, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And it's like that is what stuck out about Lavo's performance there is they were just consistent, slow down, let's get it right, and just keep moving. And that took them to the end. I mean they were smooth sailing.
I even thought that they did extremely well on that puzzle. I feel like they put it together in no time. So I'll be curious to see
who did the
if they
puzzle?
can. There was 3 of them that did it. Off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to say. But I had to like rewind and go back. I was like, wait, they're already done? Because it seemed like they all of a sudden they're done with the puzzle, and so I'll be curious to see if that continues or if that was just good luck or what there. But I was shocked.
Yeah, I think it was at least Rome and Kishan, but I don't remember who else, if it was Aisha or maybe Teeny.
So, I mean, we had some advantages. We've kind of glossed over them a little bit. We want to hop into that.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think, was it Gabe in
Mhm.
Tuku Tribe that basically found the Beware advantage almost immediately? And Beware advantage also, has been a staple of the new era, but I loved the new wrinkle that they added this season because it was, you do the puzzles, you get your idol, but now it's you do the puzzles. Hey, there's another box. If you want to extend the life of this idol, you can do that. Oh, and you can do it, as far as we know, at least 3 times. I don't know if there's a secret 4th box, but I think the 3rd box gave you an idol to final 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I liked that. We already talked a little bit. Gabe, TK found Gabe, trying to get the key to the first box and Gabe lied to TK and said, I found this key, instead of coming clean and saying, look, I found this Beware advantage. We got to work together. Because he was trying to convince TK, who was not convinced at all that he didn't find the Beware advantage.
If you were going to automatically come out and show him, why would you lie about it then?
Yeah.
Big mistake. Big mistake.
Here's the problem for Gabe is the first time that Tuku goes to Tribal, he's going to have to play his idol. Because TK, unless they come together and Gabe comes clean, TK is going to be like, look, this happened. I think we should get him out because I don't trust him.
Yeah.
Depending on where TK stands with the tribe at that time.
Right.
Yeah. It definitely should have came clean. Hey, found this. I need your help. Blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it was as soon as he was like, I found the key before I found the Beware advantage. I gotta it just didn't make sense.
I don't think that's ever happened in the history of Survivor.
Yeah.
So, bad move, Gabe.
And then who else found the Beware advantage?
Rome.
That's right.
Yeah,
So-
his was fun.
Before we talk about him, and maybe they just didn't show it, but it kept saying dig on the path. Did it say where on the path? Because both of them just seemed to instinctively know where to dig. And
I think
I don't know. I was confused by that.
I feel like on Gabe's one that he found, the piece of, or the Beware advantage that was in the piece of wood was right next to the path. From my understanding, it was, head straight to the path wherever you're at right there and dig there, basically
Gotcha.
being in correlation. Now, if that's true or not, but that's what it seemed like to me.
Oh,
Gotcha.
before we get into Rome, though, can we talk about how hilarious it was, Gabe trying to hide the box and it was crashing down the hill, and this tribe's like,
Everybody's sitting there like,
The whole
"What is
tribe.
happening up there?"
They go, "Is he sawing something?" I was like, "Wait, you guys don't have any tools yet. Like, what?
Yeah,
What are you talking about? You
that was
you don't think to go up there and look or ask him questions? Like, what is happening?"
yeah, I can't believe that he went unscathed there. Like, I would have been going up there like, "Hey, buddy, what's
why are you
going
climbing?
on there?"
Why are you climbing in the rocks? What's that box do? Like,
Hey, I noticed a box came flying down the hill. You want to talk about that? Oh, but Rome wasn't very graceful either in his beware hunting because uh, Aisha found him digging around immediately. She went and found the other tribe members, and then he's basically his clue was it's in the well, and he's just like feet hanging up in the air in the well, and I'm like, I don't know if that's how you were meant to get that, my guy, but
Well, and he did you hear him? He said, I feel sorry for people that are gonna have to drink out of
oh
this.
yeah.
And luckily he went down head first. I thought he was gonna jump in with his whole body.
Well, I
I,
was
I
like,
was
what if he
waiting for
falls
him to fall.
in?
I was waiting for him to fall in and be stuck there and
Go get him. He's gonna
help.
drown.
Hey, I mean, that might be the brilliant move for the best hiding spot. If somehow you could hide in the well as people are talking around it, that would
Yeah,
be, oh man, game changer.
Tony could figure it out, I'm sure.
Bring on Tony.
Man, but no, I thought, and then his tribe mates, Rome's tribe mates see him, and instead of just being like, "What's up, guys?" he runs. I'm like, dude, you are
Not
you
doing
couldn't
well.
put up more red flags in this situation than you have been this entire time.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to Gabe's real quick. I hate to jump back and forth on the different levels there. What do you think you guys would have done in that situation? Would you have just taken the one, try to get to three? And once you get to three, like, ooh, I can get till top five? Or would you kind of settle the way Gabe did?
Man, I think I think if you have an ally that knows what you're doing, you go for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in his situation, he's already been through enough. He's already raised suspicions. Like, I'm gonna take my 3 and go.
Yeah. That would be really, really hard for me because 3 tribals versus till top five. Obviously, you're not guaranteed to top five, but
Yeah.
that is a big, big, big difference.
And
Well,
that's
and
always
also, I was gonna say we also don't know. It all made it seem like it was before the challenge, before the immunity challenge. But I don't know that we know that for sure. I think some of it would potentially depend on, like, okay, do I think I can get this done if I know tribal is 2 hours after the challenge and the challenge is coming up in 2 hours, then I may not have enough time to do this. So I almost wonder if we don't have enough information there to know why he didn't go for five or for the final one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
yeah.
I don't know. I think you're right. You're spot on though, Brandon. I think it's going to depend on, for me, who I feel closest to in the game. Like, do I have an alliance member that I can share that with? If I don't, but I still feel comfortable, do I even take the beware advantage and almost try to set somebody up to find it so that I can use them as the fall guy if I need to, if we don't end up pairing up? Like, there's so many different ways you can play it. I think it would all depend on that moment in the game. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think the big struggle in Survivor that I've always seen players kind of go through is like, don't get too far ahead of yourself. We've seen it time and time again where like it's pre-merge and players are thinking about like Final Four and like getting to the merge and all that, and like you gotta if you're Gabe, like, yeah, having the immunity idol up to Final Five would be fantastic, but I don't know. I think you're gonna need it in the next 3 votes. So
Can't get to
Hey,
top 5 if you're not in
yeah.
the game anymore.
Mhm.
So no, that makes sense. And I honestly didn't even think about it in that sense. Obviously, you got to survive to get to top 5, but that is a really good point.
Yeah.
I also really like the fact that so just from the perspective of him doing that, it made me think back to last season where was it every single idol went home in somebody's pocket?
Yep.
Hmm.
And it's like, okay, people got too greedy wanting to hold on to it for an extra week when if they would have just played it, that would have saved them. And so that's where I thought, okay, this cast may get it a little bit more than them. Like they were previous season was they were all in 100%, totally disregarding like the facts or like what should have happened because they were wanting that extra week. And we're already seeing him say, hey, okay, I'm not gonna go for everything. I'm gonna take what I can get and be confident in that. So
Yeah,
I really liked that.
yeah. No, I was just kind of curious on that because I was torn in that same situation of okay, would I go for that? But honestly, I think it, like you guys said, it just depends on where you're at in the game and who you can trust.
Did anybody from Gata find it?
Not that I don't think they showed anybody from Gata finding it, so they gotta find it next episode.
I almost wonder if that was the little teaser for the next time on Survivor.
Oh, with Sam? Like,
Yeah.
what's Andy about to tell me? Yeah.
He dropped a bombshell, meaning they were thinking of getting him out, and all of a sudden he's coming to him saying, "Hey, I've got the idol." I don't know.
You might be onto something.
You're smart. We'll see. I feel like we should maybe get into Andy a little bit more
Yeah.
Okay.
because I know I've seen players as paranoid and kind of insecure, but it was it was his was just different seeming. Like John cracked a coconut and everybody cheered. Nobody would cheer for me for that. Like he just had himself convinced that nobody liked him, and then he had the episode during the challenge where he had to get medical, and then post challenge just kind of spills everything. And even when he was talking to Jeff, I felt like I could just kind of see it in his eyes that he's still kind of gone.
Yeah, he didn't seem fully there whenever he was talking to Jeff.
But did he actually pass out, or was he just having like a panic attack?
I think it was a panic attack.
Okay. Well, and I think he very clearly was overcompensating because he was one of the first people that Jeff talked to on the beach. And
Mhm.
if you guys remember what he said was, I've got a lot of friends or something along those lines, talking about like wanting people to like him. And I know John said that specifically, but you just got the sense that he was almost overcompensating for how well people flocked to him because that's
Mhm.
clearly a huge insecurity.
Yeah.
I mean, you even on like getting Rachel, I think it was Rachel that you got up in the middle of the night to talk to her. Like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And but like just I was gonna come up with a plan to throw John under the bus. Like, what is happening right now? Like,
It it was a full I feel like it was a full blown like meltdown there. He was just talking, and if he wasn't fully there, fully recovered, like he said, he was like at 80%. Kind of just rambling. Jeff asks you questions, you're in the hot seat. Like I can get that to some point, but to come out and tell that, well, save that for tribal for your team only, to give that out to everybody.
Right.
Oh man, like that there alone, I think would have been the deciding factor for me. I can't keep this guy around. I don't know
Yeah.
what he's going to say, when he's going to say it. Like they said, if he goes on a journey or something like that, who knows what he's going to say.
Yep.
And I feel like we saw that even last season
Yeah.
with like the
It
people that you can't keep your mouth shut is an issue.
it blows my mind how often a player that has characteristics like this stay in the game. Because like even like I think about Emily in 45. Like based on the first episode of season 45, like nobody liked her. Everybody wanted her gone and like kept her in, and she ended up being like everybody's favorite. But I'm like, what? Like, what are we doing here? What's the point of keeping them versus John? Or like keeping Andy versus John, unless you just are like, man, John's kind of scary and we should just get rid of him now. You know what I mean? And it could be as simple as, well, yeah, Andy's unpredictable and not sure about him, but he's not going to win.
Yeah, and I forget what the teammate's name was, but she was like, I feel like I've got Andy in my pocket and he'll do whatever I say. So having that side of things as well, saying, okay, he might not be the best strategically, he might not be able to keep his mouth shut in certain parts, but in other sense, he's an alliance. I can help coach him like we've seen previously. So there are some benefits there to being strong as well, to where if you're not as close with somebody else, like I don't know, it was an interesting one though.
And I think, you know, people probably look at it as, okay, he's an easy vote next week or next tribal. Like, I mean, he's not going to flip on everybody. We all kind of see he's a little crazy. That's an easy vote. Let's get somebody else out. I kept thinking, because there are always certain people on the tribe, and I'm curious your guys' take on this, especially as the weeks go forward. But there's always people on the tribe who are opting to vote the strongest people out because because they are the strongest, not the best players, but like physically the strongest.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's always a group of people that are like, wait a second, we need them to win challenges. Let's vote this person out for team camaraderie. And I feel like I started to get a sense this week that the people who are trying to vote out the strongest players are a little scared to play the social side of the game.
So, oh, okay. So the people that are wanting to get the strong players out are scared to play the social game.
Correct. Or maybe I have that backwards. Am I thinking about that backwards? Because yes, I'm sorry, I said that backwards. The people who are wanting to keep the strongest players, maybe not. I don't know what I'm saying.
Well, I think so. I mean, I think you're bringing up. I think we'll get to what you're saying. But I think I've always looked at it this way, like because I think you're absolutely spot on. There are a group of people that value players differently, and like as far as who they want to align with and who they see as threats. And I think like pre-merge, I've always thought like you got to keep your strong players. Because like you've seen it where like this you want to vote the guy out that is the sole reason that you're still here. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's more layers to it than I was initially thinking, but I think my thought is people are trying to find a reason to vote for somebody. And if you can't come up with any reason from a social aspect or how to direct votes a certain way, having the strongest player get out is like an easy move, it feels
Mhm.
like. At least initially, because the thought is, oh, well, and I think kind of the excuse is, oh, well, if they get to the merge, they're going to run away with the challenges,
Right.
which we don't. I mean, we rarely see somebody win every single challenge. But when I look back to the players that were some of like our all-time favorites, like I mean, Ozzy to Tyson to Malcolm, like some of those, they may not have been the best in each area, but they were strong strategically, but also strong physically.
Mhm.
I feel like those end up being, at least for me, some of my all-time favorites, and that's just such a rare combo anymore.
Yeah. And I think you have to have I think if you're a physical threat, you have to be a social or strategic threat as well. I think like to the days of like Tom and Terry Dietz and Colby even, like I don't think people value just the physical threat the same way anymore. To where even if they were like even if they did run away with every challenge, like somebody made the merge and then somehow won all the challenges. I don't know, like I think people will be like, yeah, that's cool that you won challenges, but like what else did you do? So
Yeah. And I think that's where that almost feels like the easy vote and kind of the cop out of like, I don't really know who to vote for. Let's just throw somebody out there. Um, even though that doesn't really seem to be how everybody thinks, especially when you get to the final tribal anymore.
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry.
Like people wanting to vote out the strongest, like the more physical players,
hmm
seems to be just an easy vote because
Yeah.
like Brandon was saying, that's not, if you win every challenge out there, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win at the end of the game, because the jury at least lately seems to put more emphasis on other things other than just the challenges.
Yeah.
And so it just seems like a cop out to want to vote out the strongest player just so they don't get to the merge and run away with the challenges.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
That for me is the part of the game that hasn't really caught up with the post merge game.
what do we got left? We want to talk a little tribal or want to get into Survivor of the Week?
I'd say let's do tribal and then Survivor of the Week. Yeah, I mean it seemed fairly cut and dry to me. I don't know. I had a sense that John was going home when they started talking about that. It felt like that was going to happen. So I don't really feel like I was caught off guard, but I don't know.
Thinking about tribal and them voting him off kind of reminds me of whenever John had gone to the other people in the tribe, or a few of the other people, and said that they wanted to vote Anika off, I think is her name.
Mhm.
And I feel like that was another kind of downside for him. As soon as he went against what the rest of them were planning on doing, was like, oh, hold up. And so after that and seeing that and hearing that at tribal, I was thinking, okay, based on some of the answers here, I think John's going home. But I don't feel like there was a ton to tribal.
Yeah, I would agree with really both of what you said, and I don't feel like I need to add a whole lot. It felt pretty obvious as to what was happening. After
Mhm.
John tried to kind of call an audible on the plan, and I think it was Sam that was like, I don't know about that, and then just the writing was on the wall, and it was, I mean, it was 5-1, wasn't it? The votes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, most interesting first boot that I can remember in a while.
And
Did hold on, wait, 5-1.
or was it
Did
3-2?
Was it 3-2?
isn't there 6 people?
Oh, wait, yeah. So
Great math.
sorry.
My math was
I thought it
good,
was I
but
thought it was
3-2 was not.
I thought it was 4-2 because gosh, I don't know now. Did they both vote Anika?
It was either 4-2 or 5-1. And my math is correct there this time.
I'll tell you in a second. Maybe. Here, I'll tell you. Yeah, it was 5-1. 5 votes John, 1 vote Anika. Obviously John voted Anika.
So
Okay,
he
so-
really did throw him under the bus.
So
He really
Andy,
did.
Andy
It was
did, yeah.
absolutely not 3 votes to 2, Logan.
Hey,
It was close.
Hey, it technically, I'll give you this. It could have been had one of them had a beware advantage that they hadn't finished yet. So
True.
I'm just
throw
thinking
you
all
throw you a bone
scenarios.
there. Yep.
And yeah, it definitely threw him under the bus because he was even the one that brought up. Wasn't Andy the one that brought up voting Anika out, or was that
I thought John
John?
was. You
No,
know what's
yeah,
gonna
John-
happen?
John did.
what's gonna happen is they're gonna open episode 2 with Andy doing a confessional, and he's just gonna be like, "It was all part of the plan," and then he's just gonna play a completely normal game from there on out.
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know. This even though this tribal wasn't all that exciting, it was a little refreshing being at the tail end of 2 hours. Like, okay, everything went smooth. I feel like last season there were just so many wild tribal councils, and I don't know, that really the last couple seasons. So it was kind of nice to have just one that went fairly smooth.
Yeah, my criteria for a successful premiere episode in the new era is that nobody quits and nobody gets medically evacuated, and neither of those things happened. So it was
We had a little bit of a scare. You went down, had medical come out. I was like, oh no, it's happening. It's happening.
not only did we have the medical scare, but we had the "Are you quitting right now?" scare. So
Yeah.
a little double dose there.
What do you guys think there's any chance that Survivor concocted that, saying, "Hey, fall down over here," and just because we need some suspense?
No, there's no way.
I say 0 chance,
Yeah.
but
And I completely agree, but that is the thing that I don't necessarily get that same confidence in a lot of other reality TV game shows. You almost kind of have a sense that they're like, I don't know, that there's
think-
some sort of directive control from the show itself, but I
Mhm.
don't feel like that way at all with Survivor. It all seems so natural.
yeah, no, I think, and Jeff Probst is pretty open about it and like adamant, like, no, everything that happens happens. The contestants have complete control of the game. Obviously, like the post production, like they tell a story based on everything that happened,
Yeah.
but there's no idle planting, or there's no, hey, go hurt yourself, or like any sort of rigging, I guess, that's
Right.
happening, which I appreciate, because you're absolutely right. Other shows, you're like, that's a load of crap, and that's a fabrication.
Yep.
So,
Survivor of the week.
Survivor of the week.
Survivor of the week. Are we all picking somebody different?
We'll just have to see.
Depends on who you pick.
Well, I should know. I was okay. Yeah, whatever. Shut up.
You start us off, Blake, so you can
Oh, man.
dictate that.
Yes. You don't know, do you?
I
You
don't.
wanted to have the same one, so you just piggyback.
No, not
All
at
right,
all.
Brandon, kick us
No,
off. So, Brandon,
no, here's the thing. So I'm between two, honestly,
right.
and one
I'll
of
go
them.
first.
No. Hold on. Let me talk through this.
So mine and Blake's pick is. No, you go ahead.
I'm leaving. Okay, so this is gonna sound crazy, but hear me out. I am between TK and John, and I mean, just from the fact of John being voted out, but I felt like he was one of the strongest players this episode, and his tribe just got the best of him, and he played too hard. It just didn't work out. But I don't think there was anything that was just like, oh, this guy's the worst. He was horrible strategically. It just didn't work out for him. But TK on the other end, and he destroyed that challenge to get his tribe the camp supplies, and then everybody just flocked to him. Seems very well liked, and then having dirt on somebody already, I think he is setting himself up very, very well. And then their tribe ended up that they didn't crush it in the immunity challenge, but they didn't go to tribal. So he is positioning himself very, very well. So those are the two that I'm between. If I have to pick one, I'm going to go John, just because I think it's cool that the person that got put it out was one of the stronger players of the week.
Yeah, I like that pick. it's something that I was actually thinking about. I was like, wow, for somebody that got voted out first, you played a pretty dang good game in the 3 days that you were there. But for me, a little bit of a different direction. If we're just looking at tribes, I'm pretty impressed with the Lavo tribe. I think they're going to be a chaotic, fun tribe, and could potentially be the dominant tribe. We'll obviously see, but my survivor of the week is Teeny, because I genuinely think she did the best out of everybody of building those early relationships and building bonds and trusts with her tribe mates and setting herself up for security both now and hopefully well into the merge. And my only thing is like hopefully she doesn't come on too strong or people kind of figure out what her game is. But Teeny's my survivor of the week.
I like both of those. I think I was between TK and Teeny, and was leaning towards Teeny for the same reason, Brandon, of the biggest thing early game is setting up those relationships. So getting out in front of that and getting that set up and having those relationships, the trust and the tribe liking or all of that, I think is massive at this point of the game. Again, like you said, I hope that doesn't come back to bite her of people starting to talk and she told me she was my number one, this and that, and just getting in trouble there. But for first episode, first couple days, she did a extremely good job of setting up relationships, and that's what's going to get you farther in the game. So I'm going with Teeny as well.
I typically lock in my first pick for winner of Survivor after
are we doing this?
after the first episode, and I am gonna go ahead and do it. I'm probably gonna be wrong.
Aren't we all?
I mean, statistically.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we get 18 lives.
If needed.
Just try again. But I think I'm gonna pick my survivor of the week to be the sole survivor of season 47. I'm picking Teeny to be the winner of this season.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if either of you are in a spot that you want to do that. Obviously, we didn't get a ton of information about a lot of people, but I have done this every season that we've covered so far, so I want to make sure that I continue to do it.
I'll hop on it. I don't know why. Well, there's a couple reasons. I think I'm gonna go with Aisha. I think the way she came back into the tribe and was able to build some positives there and not be on the outs, and some of her knowledge behind the game, obviously doing the podcast, and even I think it was it Teeny that even said that she catches things in episodes that I don't catch, and some of that. So her knowledge of the game and the way she was able to come back from being gone and join right back in like it was not a big deal. I think she could do really well. So I'm going with Aisha.
I was really hoping you wouldn't do that, just because I don't know that I am ready to pick.
And you can wait till final three if you want to.
I mean, I definitely can. I'm not locked in.
I mean, I don't know if I'm locked in, but I got to do it. So
You got to keep the tradition.
Okay.
So this is the first, and I'll let you go in a second, but this is the first season since we've been covering it that like I don't feel like strongly one way or the other. I think I said that earlier. Like I don't necessarily feel bad about anybody, but like I don't feel like they're the one like I did in prior seasons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
And maybe that's on purpose as well, but I'm curious what you're going to say, Blake.
To Blake is too.
Yeah. So
Whatever name comes out of his mouth.
well, let me talk through my thought
And you
process.
can't say John.
Deal. He comeback kid. So I'll talk through my thought process rather than picking one and then explain like why I think it's that person, because I don't really know. So the last two winners now, at least it could have been more, but the most recent two winners have been females. So I almost want a guy to win just to mix that up a little bit, but I do feel like at least this style of gameplay, the females are doing a little bit better. And I like people that are not as like big personalities at first. I mean, Kinsey was a little bit, but she was still like a little, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. So my first thought is Kishan. I think he could be really good. I just haven't seen enough to see what he's going to do or to see if he is going to be good. But I think I'm going to go with Caroline. I really like how she kind of teamed up with Sue, and like that mother-daughter bond. It kind of gave me Charlie and Maria vibes a little bit, kind of the older and the younger. So, and other than that, I don't really have a great reason because I'm not sold on anybody, but I'm going to go with Caroline.
Okay.
The other one that I thought could be decent, I was looking at, who was it? Oh, Tiana.
Mm-hmm.
She's just, I just don't, I mean, I think we got maybe two like videos of her. We just haven't seen much of her at all. So I don't know. But I think there's a lot of potential there as well.
I like it.
I got nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a it's glad to be back. I'll say that. I'm excited to be back. So
Absolutely. And I mean, I loved the last season. I love the previous season. But this one's starting out. I think I'm going to like this cast. I think a little bit more than last season. So at least me personally, but I'm excited to see where this goes, and it's starting off on a great foot. So make sure you join us next week. We will be back. Another episode next Friday. So tune in, find us on all the socials, X, Twitter, whatever you call it. Brandon, we're still posting this on YouTube as well, correct?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Say goodbye, Logan.
goodbye, Logan.